perfect.
Shackled to the way I was. Oh, I'm gonna live like my chains are gone, gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. He is risen, it is done, and I sing hallelujah. Praise is a weapon that will overcome. So I'm gonna shout like the battle's won. Oh, I'm gonna live like the stone is gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Righteousness of God. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. He is risen, it is done, and I sing hallelujah. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah.
So there was this study done or performed in 2018 that said we spend almost 1 hour a day doing this one thing with our family, and that's arguing or having a strong discussion that we maybe have two differing opinions on with our family. We spend close to 1 hour a day arguing with our families. Now let's break that down. That would be, let's just say, 6 arguments per day with our family. Let's take it a little further. That's an average of 42 arguments a week. Now let's take it to a month. That's about 180 times, if our math is correct, in a month, and over 2,000 arguments in a year. Now, that was a study that was done, and you may be a little skeptical about the numbers, but overall, what I want you to understand and what I think this study shows is that arguments or disagreements or when two people come together with differing opinions happens all the time. It happens a lot. I mean, think about it. We talk about sports. There are differing opinions about politics. There's family stuff that we talk about with differing opinions. There's friendship drama. There's the most important question: is LeBron James actually better than MJ? MJ is far, far better than LeBron James. But you may have a differing opinion about that right there. And so that's an argument. That's a differing opinion. That's a discussion where we disagree on something. And so I just want you to stop and think to yourself, when was the last time that happened to you? Or when was the last time that you saw that happen with someone else? It was probably right before you came to this watch party. Or it may have been even at the watch party. Or if you're sitting at home, maybe it was right before you started watching this video. So why am I telling you all this? It is, whether you realize it or not, arguments happen all around us. I mean, just take a look at social media. Arguments happen everywhere. And I think that most of us probably feel like arguments or disagreements are a bad thing. I mean, conflicts are kind of uncomfortable, and we somewhat try to be away from those, or what am I trying to say? We are avoiding the arguments or confrontations. Maybe we don't share our strong opinions about something because we don't want to make someone else mad, or we want to fit in. But here's the deal. Not all arguments are a bad thing. Not all differing opinions are a bad thing. They can actually be good if they are handled correctly in a healthy and respectful way. And so that's why I think this is so important. This is so important for us to talk about tonight. Is we know that arguments are going to happen. So how do we go about navigating through this challenging conversation that we disagree with someone else? And that's why it's just important, because our relationships with our friends, our relationships with our family members, with our teammates, our relationships with the people in our small groups is on the line. Because guess what? You're going to disagree with someone sometime in your life. And that relationship hinges on how you navigate through the challenging conversation of arguing or disagreeing with someone. So why is this so challenging? I think it's challenging for a couple of reasons. I think it's because our feelings are involved. So people usually don't really get in fights or arguments or discussions about things that they don't care about. I mean, think about this. Maybe you aren't doing so well in school, and your grades are suffering a little bit right now, and your parents are upset. And so you guys have a conversation about your grades. Why? Because they care about your grades. They want you to do well in school. When you fight with your best friend about maybe them lying to you, you care and want honest people around you. And so you care to have honest people around you. We care about not only like what we are arguing about, we are emotionally invested, but we also care about the people, right? Just as we talked about, your parents care about you and your grades, and you care about your friends, and you don't want them to step into a bad situation, or you don't want them to lie. But one of the biggest challenges, I think personally, and why this is so hard to navigate an argument, is because the other person thinks differently than you do. And regardless of who is arguing, usually this happens. Instead of listening to the other person and what they have to say, we are so worried about what we are going to say in response to them. Instead of calmly sitting back and listening to them and their viewpoint. We are waiting until their lips stop moving so that we can tell them what we think about it. And we jump right into an argument. And I honestly believe it's because we can't understand why they don't understand our point of view. And so what do? We spend so much energy, we spend so much time trying to convince them that we are right. And so I think that is the biggest problem we face when navigating through an argument or a conflict. It's the simple fact that we think there has to be a winner and a loser. It's because we think that there has to be someone who is right and someone who is wrong. But what if arguing to win isn't really a win at all? What if trying to be right in the conversation is actually not being right at all? So we've talked about, and I think we can agree that arguments are going to happen. There's no way about it. There are going to be times when, or there's no way around it. There's going to be times when you are in a situation where somebody disagrees with what you believe. And so we can't get around that. But I think it's important that we sit back and we talk about how to navigate through a challenging conversation. So let's look at the New Testament. So James, the book of James is an awesome book. It's super practical, and I love it. So if you are looking for something to study throughout the week, I encourage you, just read through the book of James. Read a chapter a day. It will impact your life so great. Like every single day, it will impact your life, as the Bible does anyways, right? But James is writing to this church. He's the one to drop some wisdom on them, and it is in James 1:19. And this directly relates how you navigate through a conversation where you may disagree. It says this: "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this." And here it is. He says, everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak. They should be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to become angry. Notice what he says right after he says, take note of this. He says, everyone should be. Not just people that I disagree with, not just the people who think they're right, not just the people who have bad tempers. He is saying all of us, everyone, especially Christ followers. Everyone. This includes everyone. It includes me, and it includes you. So now that we know that everybody's included, what does he say next? He says, be quick to listen. Be quick to listen. In other words, when you find yourself in an argument, here we go, listen first. Listen first. You know, we have that backwards a lot. I know I do personally. I am quick to speak and slow to listen. But what James is saying here is to be quick to listen. Do your best to hold back from speaking in an argument. Listen first and hear what the other person has to say. So we need to be quick to listen. And then he says what? Slow to speak. Now for some of us, this, like we just talked about, is going to be really, really difficult because you think that you are right, and maybe you are right. But you have to voice your opinion in a way that is disrespectful. But what James is saying here is that we have to be slow to speak. But remember, being slow to speak doesn't mean that we don't speak at all. Okay, he doesn't say in here, don't speak with someone who may be in the wrong that you disagree with. No, he says be slow to speak. He says think through what you're going to say before you say it. I don't know about you, but some of the most regretful things that I have said in an argument or a conversation where I disagree with someone is the things that I say without thinking. It's the times where it pops in my mind and it immediately comes out of my mouth. And I'm like, oh man, I really should not have said that. Or I really did not mean that the way it sounded. And so James is telling us here, we have to be quick to listen. We have to be slow to speak. And then I really feel like, if James was writing this letter today, he would say that, Tyler, you need to be slow to text. He would say, Tyler, you need to be slow to post. He would say, you need to be slow to comment on social media. You need to be slow to talk behind someone's back. Whatever that response is for you. Maybe James is for sure telling you that you need to be slow in doing that response. And all of this really adds up to what he ends the verse saying, and it's to be slow to become angry. So you have to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Again, James isn't telling us not to be angry. He's not telling us not to be passionate about what we believe. But what he's saying is he wants us to not be angry, but to love that person in the dispute or in the argument. In other words, he's saying this, and this is kind of the main point. We need to care more about the person we are talking to than the point we are trying to make. Let me say that again. We need to care more about the relationship with that person or the person more than we care about getting our point across or being right in a conflict. So, the next time that you are faced with a conflict, the next time that you are in this position of an argument, I hope that you will remember James 1:19. So let's commit this to memory. This is something that you can do this week. Commit James 1:19 to memory. And I promise you, whenever you get in that situation and that heated debate or that conversation or that argument, you want this verse in your brain so that you can go through it and remember, oh, I'm supposed to be quick to listen. I'm supposed to be slow to speak. And I'm supposed to be slow to anger. And then we need to apply it to someone this week. Someone in your family, maybe a friend, maybe someone on your team. We need to apply what James told us to do to a specific person. So right now, I want you to think who that person is. Who's that person who you argue with the most? Who's that person that just gets under your skin and you have disagreements with all the time? I want you to picture them besides James 1:19. And so the next time you see them, you will think, oh, I've got to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And then finally, I want you to do something that's really hard. I want you to put yourself in their shoes. I want you to put aside what you think. I want you to put aside what you maybe know or believe that you think is correct. I want you to put aside the argument, and I want you to put yourself in their shoes. Guys, we've got to, as Christ followers, we've got to stand up for what we believe and for what we know is right, but we've got to do it in the right way. We have to be quick to listen, slow to speak. We have to think about what we are going to say, and slow to anger. We have to love that person, no matter what their viewpoint is. Because here's the deal. We're not going to agree on everything, right? But we all have to agree to love everyone. And those conflicts, those challenging conversations have to be done in love and not out of anger. And so remember, let's care more about the person we are talking with or we are having the dispute with. Let's care about them more than we care about the point that we are trying to make.
God faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me.
God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. Oh, I need you. Walking down these desert roads, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. Oh, I need you. Your forgiveness. It's like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony in my ears. It's like holy water on my Sweet, sweet honey on my lips. Sound of symphony in my ears. Holy water on my skin.
I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change.
I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. Forgiveness. It's like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony in my ears. Holy water. Your forgiveness. It's like sweet, sweet honey on
Perfect.